On the 24th of March 1999, NATO forces started a military intervention of the Sovereign Republic of Yugoslavia that lasted for 78 days.
Ради того, чтобы убрать президента бывшей Югославии Слободана Милошевича, НАТО развязало войну в центре Европы.
Well, we all know how that ended for the ex-president of Yugoslavia. As for us civilians, in 2.5 months, we became experts in different kinds of weaponry. We've learned to distinguish between the sound of falling bombs and the sound produced by fighter jets breaking the sound barrier. We have learned everything about bombers, invisible jet, tomahawks, cluster and graphite bombs. Valuable lessons in the name of democracy. US Secretary of State at the time, Madeleine Albright, sent us her warmest regards in our own language.
Želim vas sve najbolje.
Operation Allied Force, or Noble Anvil, was launched without UN Security Council authorization. According to NATO, the operation was strictly humanitarian. But of course, there was a pretext ready to be fed to the world. Here it is. Yugoslav forces were accused of ethnic cleansing of Albanians in Kosovo, and the Racha case became a turning point. According to OSCE's William Walker, Serbian security forces allegedly killed 45 Albanian civilians. As it turns out, Mr. Walker was putting pressure on forensics headed by Finnish pathologist Helena Ranta to name Serbian security forces as perpetrators of the massacre. This is what she said years after about the victims of Racha.
Эти тела принадлежали и боевикам, и сербским солдатам, и жителям деревни.
It didn't actually come as a surprise to us Serbs, but Walker became an honorary citizen of Albania and openly supported the creation of Greater Albania, meaning tremendously expanding current Albania's borders by controversial means. We survived 78 days of bombing, hiding in shelters. Not all of us, though. NATO targeted and destroyed our railways, bridges, factories, hospitals, TV centers. Our main chemical factory was bombed, and we were terrified of the spreading of deadly poisonous substances. According to Serbian lawyers, NATO dropped more than 15 tons of enriched uranium on our lands. The New York Times later on reported radiation from Balkan bombing alarms Europe. Back then, Clinton was in deep S-storm with Monica Lewinsky's sex scandal.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman. Indeed, I did have a relationship with Ms. Lewinsky that was not appropriate.
Of course, Clinton's ratings went low, and he came up with a plan which was later described by the Republican Party as wagging the dog. He started a war on our territory. Clinton made NATO aim for the military targets in Serbia, but his noble cover-up money commission also dropped bombs on civilians, a lot of them. On the 12th of April, bombs were dropped on a passenger train moving across a railway bridge. Dozens of innocent people perished in a second, while America was still recovering from their own kind of Hollywood-style drama. April 23rd, bombs hit Serbia National TV Center and killed 16 staff members. Oh, NATO bombs were so precise, they could find their way into the building through windows or even chimneys. Yet somehow on the 8th of May, they landed on Chinese embassy. According to NATO, it was an oopsie.
A tragic mistake. It was a mistake, but no more than that.
I hate this. And as I said, I send my regrets and my profound condolences to the leaders and the people of China and to the innocent people in Serbia who have perished. I hate it. But
there's always an ass that justifies all collateral damage. 6 days after the death of Chinese diplomats, another oopsie came along. This time, it was an Albanian refugee convoy that became collateral damage. Hold on. Wasn't the initial goal of this humanitarian action to save the Albanian refugees? Well, only if saving means injuring 70, killing 90, including 10 newborns.
I don't think there is a fancy way to say that I have sinned.
Well, you know, there's no fancy way of saying this, but for once, many of us humans agreed with you. On May the 20th, bombs fell on a Belgrade city maternity hospital. The real target must have been the evil dictator's residence, located 1 kilometer away. the tyrant Slobodan Milosevic, aka the Butcher of the Balkans, and Clinton's desired war trophy. Thousands of people were gathering at open spaces, vividly displaying their uniforms, t-shirts with target print on them, to make a statement to the world that we were the real victims of the operation, not Milosevic's regime. There's still no official data on the exact number of civilian casualties, but no less than 2,500 died and 6,000 injured. Okay, quick recap. In the name of democracy, wishing us all the best.
Želim vas sve najbolje.
That's more like it. Our Serbian wasn't that good after all. The airstrikes finally ended on the 10th of June with...
Peace is possible.
Sorry, must have been the wrong video. Okay, I'm not really sure how to tell you this, but 2 years after you died in 2008, Albanians from Serbian province of Kosovo self-declared independence from Serbia. The next day, United States, France, and Great Britain, all of your best friends, recognized Kosovo's self-proclamation. Okay, I hear self-proclamation and I think Guaido. But no, I'm not talking about Venezuela. But actually, if you look back, on US's School of Democracy timetable, March became the time for final exam. Since Yugoslavia bombing 20 years ago, Iraq, Libya, Syria have all failed their tests. But now, we at least know what they were testing us for. They came, they saw, we died.
Let's get out of here. This is not